Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Okay, so hey, there are times when we all could use a little extra help and support in our lives. Whether there's something you're struggling with or just seeking connection with other people who understand what it's like to be in your situation, Inovia Behavioral Health can help. Inovia is a subscription-based organization that provides unlimited access to a wide variety of educational, experiential, and therapeutic support groups that are led by live expert facilitators. Now, you can get 20% off your membership with the discount code Cookbook20 when you subscribe. Check it out today at inoviabh.com. Inovia, feel better. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Cookbook. I'm your host, Iris Goldfeder, and I am super excited for my guest today, Erin Marcus. I'm going to read her bio and then bring her on, but in looking at her media kit and stuff, I realize I got to step my game up. But that's awesome because, you need people like that to make you realize, where you need to do other things. So I'm going to read her bio, bring her on, and we're going to learn all the awesome things that are Erin Marcus. So Erin Marcus is the founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business, an international company helping driven entrepreneurs and small business owners get the financial and emotional freedom they need to build a business and a life they're proud of. Sounds good to me. Having made the successful leap from corporate executive to entrepreneur, Erin uses that experience along with her MBA education and street smart MBA. Oh, MBA. Okay, I'm going to read that again. I'm going to do that again.
Feel free.
Yay. Okay. I won't tell you I read this 3 times already. Okay. Okay. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Cookbook. I'm your host, Iris Goldfeder, and I am super excited for my guest today, Erin Marcus. I'm going to read her bio and bring her on, but she is pretty awesome. We spoke a couple of weeks ago, and I think you're going to think she's as awesome as I do. So, Erin Marcus is the founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business, an international company helping driven entrepreneurs and small business owners get the financial and emotional freedom they need to build a business and a life they're proud of. Sounds good to me, right? Having made the successful leap from corporate executive to entrepreneur, Erin uses that experience along with her MBA education and street smart upbringing to help her clients reach heights that they never dreamed possible and have fun doing it. I think that's probably the best part. Erin is also an international speaker and the host of the Ready Yet podcast. So without further ado, let's meet Erin.
Hello. So excited to be here. Good to see you again.
Excited to have you. I know you as well. I was a guest on your podcast a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago. And I know I said this in the first intro because I had to redo it. But, your media kit, I love your media kit.
Thank you.
And I realized that I need to probably do something like that because I'm 25 episodes in and I'm literally like building the plane as I'm flying it, and Skylar agrees.
So here's the thing. I'm 150 episodes in and we just did that. So no worries.
Wow.
Everything is iteration. Everything is just an iteration. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
You see something you like, emulate it. No.
Well, yes. And that's usually what I do. And the really cool thing is we got our first sponsor last week.
Nice. That's fantastic.
Know.
That's awesome.
Know. It's crazy. It's like it's Inovia Behavioral Health. They're an online subscription service for wellness. So they have all of these different groups, and for one monthly fee, you get access to all the groups. It's not like you just pay one monthly fee and you only get one group. You get access to all of them. So I'm super excited about that. And I know I kind of just snuck that in without even realizing it. Anyway, but you're
supposed to do that.
I know, but I was planning on doing it like 15 minutes in and then reading a thing, but I don't even have it. I will. I don't have a thing to read yet because we're actually just working on it, but I'm just so stoked because I was talking to Kimberly Spencer and she was like, people don't get sponsorships that
Right.
fast.
Yeah. I mean, and we haven't even gone that route yet, but even tried. So absolutely. Good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. And I didn't try. It was actually brought to me from a friend.
Oh,
So they were
even
like,
better.
hey, you guys are going to mesh. I think that he should be a guest and then he should be a sponsor. And I'm like,
There
okay.
you go.
So here
Path
we
of
go.
least resistance. It doesn't have to be that hard.
No, it doesn't. See, and I think that's one of the things, right? People make things way harder than
Oh,
it
yeah.
has to be. Way harder than it has to
We
be.
make it harder because we believe in order to be worth something, it has to be hard to achieve it. Otherwise, it has no value. And so we tell ourselves things have to be hard. And so we go about making them hard.
So why do we do that? I mean, like what makes us think I know that I used to be under the impression that, if I spend more on a pair of pants, they're going to be, you know what I mean? Like jeans. If
Right.
I go out and I spend $120 on a pair of jeans or whatever, they're going to be better than the $60 Levi jeans that, I buy. And meanwhile,
Half
it's
the
not,
time they're not.
no,
It's literally just how your brain works, right? It's literally subconscious programming. It's the things that we've learned growing up before we had the filter to decide whether or not we agree with it. It's the things that we're surrounded by. And so we feel that they're real. And
interesting.
it's one of those things. I have a new category. I have a new category of thought, and I call it give yourself a break, but don't let yourself off the hook. And so when you say things like, oh, I don't have a media kit yet, or, oh, I'm making it hard, like we tend to make ourselves wrong about having these thoughts. And the truth is, we're up against neuroscience. You're up against the way our brain works. So give yourself a break. Don't get mad at yourself for thinking that way. That's how it works. But at the
Right.
same time, you can't let yourself off the hook. Just because that's the way it works automatically doesn't mean that you have zero input, zero control, and there's nothing you can do about it. So give yourself a break, but don't let yourself off the hook.
Right. I like that a lot. And it's true because I think for me personally, I know that um, uh, my liking of expensive things comes from not having, right? Comes from lack when I was a kid. And
Yeah.
so I was one that always wore the hand-me-downs. My mom's sister was the one who, had the money in the family. So my cousin grew out of her clothes. I got them and they were nice, but I never bought new clothes. And I remember the first time I was able to like go out and buy really nice clothes. I bought really nice clothes. It was like, yes, I'm going to get like all the things. Now I've chilled out a bunch, but
I think, like anything else, it's kind of a pendulum, right? You're too far to one side and then we fall too far to the other side. It's kind of a pendulum. And if you pay attention and do the work, you kind of steady yourself in the middle. But
yep, 100%. So tell us about Erin Marcus and, all the things. All the things.
All the things. Well, since your audience is entrepreneurs, let's just, stick with that for now.
And C-suite.
And see, oh, even better. That's
and people thinking about becoming entrepreneurs.
Oh,
I know there's like a whole thing.
I did that. That was an interesting experience, right? So, founder and CEO of Conquer Business. How did that happen? I was fancy corporate. I had a C-suite level corporate job that I absolutely loved. I worked with amazing, amazing people that I'm still close with. I'm not one of those people who fled corporate angry and mad at the machine and, screw this, not doing it. I left a place that it was very hard to leave because of the relationships I had. But I had gotten to the point where whether it was change in the industry, change in myself because of age, I just knew there was something else. I felt this drive that there was something else. I love the people I worked with. The work was secondary. I was good at what I did, but I can't say I was massively passionate about the work we were doing.
Right.
And one of the things that happens in big organizations is the work just kind of expounds on itself, right? Like it just grows.
Right.
And that you
Yeah.
start to do work just because there's more work, and the work creates more work, and this guy's got to make a nickel off of that guy's dime, so let's create another layer of work. And it felt weird. The only word I can come up with is it felt very contrived. And I felt bad about that because I loved who I worked with. And so when I felt this disconnect between who I was working with and what I was doing, what I was actually spending my day doing, I'm like, all right, something's got to give. And what was at the time, I actually did interview at a couple different companies in slightly different industries. And then I thought, why in the world would I trade being at the top of my industry to go to the bottom of a different industry just for subject matter purposes? I'm like, that didn't seem like a smart idea. And I'm very grateful to have realized that, because that would have just prolonged the suffering, right?
Yes.
And that's really when I started to investigate, what if I had something of my own? What if I had something of my own where I wasn't working for someone else? And I had no path to follow that in my family, but what if I had something of my own? And that first step for me was actually a franchise. It wasn't Conquer Your Business. That first step for me was a franchise. So I say I jumped off half the cliff. I halfway jumped off the cliff, right? It was mine, and I call it was a baby franchise because they certainly did not have their program together and their details together. They were just creating, which for me was perfect because I liked being on the forefront of taking their concept and then making it a business. So I stair-stepped my world into entrepreneur, where I went franchise and then full, not even franchise, but my own business entirely.
Right. And it's interesting because, for me, I always knew that I just wasn't meant to work for people because
I was good at it. I had no frame of reference for anything else. And I did very well. I was talking to someone earlier today about that trajectory. And I was always fascinated when you meet a younger person who knows what they want to do and they go about doing it. And that was not me. I was more get a job, do really good at my job, and that opened the door to the next job or the next opportunity, never around what do I want to do. And it wasn't until I went into the entrepreneur world that I stopped and thought about that.
See, and well, for me, it came out of necessity the second time around. And when it happened, it was, I got fired and unemployment just wasn't an option. And I knew I really didn't want to work for anybody else again, because I never fit that mold, like any, mold that, corporate had on how you should be and how you should behave and how you should sell and all the tools. They never worked for me, like ever. So I would always do things my way that would work. It would bring the money in, but they weren't happy because I wasn't doing it their way. Well,
see, and I got lucky because I wasn't a good rule follower at all. And I looking back, I know that the reason I stayed with my last company as long as I did is they really did allow me to be an entrepreneur within their framework.
Wow. So you were very lucky.
Very lucky, very supported in that situation. You got to deliver results or people don't let you do that. But I was very much allowed to be an intrapreneur, or however you would say that. There's terms for it. But
yes.
I was allowed that. I was given a lot of rope. I was allowed to do a whole lot of things.
That's awesome. And my first boss at that company was like that. She was like, that's why I hired you. Go do your thing your way. People like that, she got transferred elsewhere, and then somebody else took her place who was complete opposite and complete new corporate Nelly. This is how we do it. And this is how you're going to do it. Yeah, but I don't get results that way. Yeah, but you're going to. No. So I would still do it my way, get the results, because I knew that at the end of the day, that was what they wanted. But they also wanted the other stuff. So anyway, long story short, and I look back now, and now I know I'm completely unemployable.
Oh, I
I can
say
never
that
work,
all
right?
the time.
I mean, we are, right? As entrepreneurs, we'd be like, "There's no way." Hey,
They would
try
hate
this.
me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. So, do you miss corporate at all?
I miss some of the people. Again, because I had such great relationships and such great experiences. I miss some of the relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I was very worried when I left corporate. That was honestly one of the things I was worried about. I'm a very collaborative person. My best ideas are not going to come from me sitting here by myself trying to come up with ideas. It's just not the way my brain thinks. I start coming up with really good ideas when other people start interacting with me and start talking to me. And then I'm like, oh, okay, what about
Something
this? What about this? What about this?
Yes.
So,
Yep.
and because I was in such a collaborative environment, I was very worried about that. And for me, networking replaced that. I was very, 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 very excited and grateful when I realized true networking and building those relationships would replace that collaborative feeling that I had in corporate. So I missed that. I want to say the rest of the stuff that I really liked about corporate, I've just created in my business. So I love being a trailblazer. I love not doing things the way everyone else is doing it. And
Right.
the company I was with was very much the trailblazer in the industry. So the rest, I can't say I miss it because I've recreated it.
Nice. See, and I kind of feel that way too. It's funny because with this podcast, I remember when we started it. Originally I wanted Kofi to do it with me, so I said, "Come on, let's do this podcast together." And he said, "No, you do it, and I'll produce it." And I went, "No, no, 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 no. We should do this together because we can." Because I'm not used to doing stuff by myself, right? Either. And so finally, you choose your battles. He won.
He won. He won.
And like after the second interview, I was like, "Oh hell yeah, this is." Because
it was just a little bit of fear at first, right?
Oh, a lot of fear, not a little. Because for me, I have like ADD and I can go off on tangents. And I was like, oh my God, what if I go off on, a tangent? And then I realized
that's what a
it
conversation
doesn't matter. That's what the conversation is. And it's so conversational. And that was one of the things that was really important to me, that was with, all of my guests from the beginning, that it wasn't going to be this cookie cutter. I've listened to a lot of podcasts and there's amazing ones out there. And then there are some that are very, these are the questions that we're going to ask, and it's going to be like this. And I didn't want that. And it didn't have to be that. And it was just like, and it's not that. And I do have questions that I ask in every episode, but they just happen organically because it's all part of that conversation.
Because you know your topic.
Yes.
Right. The questions that you ask are topical to your audience, not structured to be, there's a big difference between a conversation and an interrogation.
Yes.
Right. And the rapid fire boom. Now, some people are good at it. I will tell you, I have been on podcasts where it's been rapid fire, very quick questions, quick answers, but the energy of the host was so much fun that
it works.
They pulled it off. It's not mine. I can respond to it. I don't do it well. So much like you, I lean towards just an organic conversation.
Right. And then it just kind of, pulls in there. So speaking of, so there are people, listening. So, people listening to this are entrepreneurs, or people that are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, people in the C-suite. And what I found also is that it's just like people are just like starting to listen. I have a friend of mine who is not an entrepreneur. She's not C-suite. And she said, this was last week, she goes, "Why didn't you tell me you had a podcast?"
Didn't think it applied to you.
And I said, I don't know. I mean, I just never really, we've been friends for like 10 years and you never brought it up. I'm like, A, we haven't spoken probably in a while, but I don't know. Like, I never thought about it. She's like, it's fire. It's like, it's freaking
human
awesome.
connection.
And blah, blah, blah.
Right. It's human connection.
100%. And so she's like, I love it. She goes, I subscribe because I want to hear all the things. And so that made me go, okay, so, it is topical, but everybody listens or whatever. So I wish everybody listened, but you know what I mean.
They're getting there.
Everybody listen, subscribe.
They're getting there.
Right. Yes. But so what advice do you have? Because they're like people that, are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, or maybe out of necessity, they, have to become an entrepreneur. What advice do you have for these
I think
people?
there's a couple things. So when I owned my franchise, I'll back up a little bit. When I owned my franchise, I also was a trainer for other franchise owners. So they would buy their office and then they would come to me in Chicago and work with me for a while. And that's where I started to see this. And I've continued to see this particular trend as a business coach and consultant. If you are running away from something, you will have a harder time than if you are running toward creating something. So if you're mad at the world and mad at the hierarchy and mad at your boss and mad at the way business works, and then you go and try to create your own business, you're bringing that anger with you. And it's not that it's impossible, but for people who leave a job and are inspired to create something of their own, even if you got fired, that really isn't a litmus test if whether or not you chose to jump off the cliff or you got pushed off the cliff. It doesn't really matter. That's how I describe it. Either way, you're falling off a cliff. That's how that goes.
Exactly.
So whether you jumped off the cliff or you got pushed off the cliff, if in your heart you're deciding to not go get another job, but to become an entrepreneur because you want to create something, because you want to have something of your own, because you want to be of service and give your gifts to the world, as opposed to just finding another job because they're everywhere, you will have a much better time. So the first advice that I will give somebody is make sure that you're readily aware of your intentions. Make sure you know why you want to give this a try, do this thing. So that's number one. Number two, what's hysterical is I would tell you, don't do it the way I did it. I am very, very much, I'm very instinctive. I'm very quick to act, but I'm also very driven to make things work. Not everybody, as one friend of mine once told me, I'm very comfortable out on the thin branches.
Yes.
And I know that's not normal. I know that's not normal. I couldn't even tell you where it comes from. I have this, I will figure it out. I will make it work. That's just always been part of my life. And I think it's just from taking care of myself for so many years. Mm-hmm. But do some homework. Do some homework. And I say that to save you the agony of being susceptible to bad advice. What can you learn? What can you do to kind of do it the right way? And there's not one right way.
Right.
But I should have grabbed a mentor, a qualified mentor, much sooner in my journey.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just started working with a coach, and I've had my business for 9 years.
Yeah, I didn't wait that long.
Well, no. So
but there's people who have done whatever it is that you're trying to do. There's people who have done it. Go follow them.
Yes, 100%. And I say the reason that I waited 9 years, so when the business first started, it was strictly websites and SEO. That was it. And that's all I thought I was ever going to do, not knowing that it was going to get so saturated, right? Mm-hmm. And then people want to work with me. So of course they're going to buy my product, and of course they're going to, whatever. But now, fast forward to a foray that I did for 3 years that, it ended. We'll put it that way. And then I got back to this business. But when I came back to gas stove, it was from a whole different point of view and a whole different set of passions. And so it took me about 8 months to get, things kind of how I wanted to get them. And then I realized that I wanted to do more, but I didn't know how to do the more that I wanted to do. So that's when I hired the coach.
There you go.
And so now I'm working on programs and stuff, because if you would have told me, 4 years ago, hey, you're going to be offering programs, I'd be like, you're on crack. I'm not going to.
Well, and I think that's another thing, is be very open-minded is in terms of advice. What you think is going to happen and what actually happens might have zero things to do with each other.
Right.
And if you are tied to, this is what I'm going to do, this is the only way I'm going to do it, you're just asking to have a harder time than you need to.
Right.
Like,
you got to be able to pivot. I mean, it's 100%, right? It's like you need to be able to pivot, because nothing, the only thing that stays the same is change. That's like my favorite.
And in the entrepreneurial world, and this is why I say I'm no longer employable, the entrepreneurial world, the beauty of it is the ability to adapt faster and faster and faster than corporate. I laugh because my boyfriend has a great job with amazing people. It's a wonderful company. And I hear him have meetings. And because he seems to, during the day, slowly emigrate from his office into the kitchen, like almost on a daily basis. He starts out in his office, he ends up in the kitchen. So I overhear his meetings, and they have meetings to plan meetings. And there's 7 people who get together. They're going to have 3 meetings to name a thing that is an internal thing. And I'm listening. And they're great people and a great company. And I'm listening to this going, in the time it's taken you to even create that plan, I've had 3 different clients create, name, and launch 3 different offers so that we can see what the market thinks, so we can make better decisions. And so that's one of the reasons I love that adaptability. Now, you have to learn how to walk the line between iteration based on market response and squirrel, because I can't keep my attention span. Those are not the same thing.
Right.
So there's I said entrepreneur, the world of entrepreneur is a series of bowling alleys. It's a series of bowling lanes. And your goals, your single goal for each of those lanes is to put bumpers in your gutters so that you don't fall too far off the lane. You are not going straight down this lane. You are not going straight down this lane.
And you're not going to get a strike every roll, right? I mean, it's not going to happen. It'll be nice.
Right. What are the bumpers? Let's see. The bumpers are, I need to be able to iterate. I can't go off half-cocked on every random idea that I have. Right? How do we keep it in the middle?
Right. And it's true, because we have to, we have to say, okay, so I'll use me and my programs right now. It was like, okay, people are doing programs. They're really cool and they're really successful in doing them. Can I do that and offer? Because for me, if I don't bring value to somebody, I'm not going to work with them. Like
everybody.
It's not everybody, but you know
it's how it should be. Right.
It's how it should be.
Is you start with, you reverse engineer it.
Yes.
How can I 100%. Be of service? You reverse engineer it. I'm not going to, I know you said it this way, but it's not the way you did it. I'm not going to create programs because other people are selling programs. I'm going to look at my business and say, well, could my client get the outcome that they wanted in this format?
Right. 100%. And that's exactly how it happened.
Yeah.
So when I realized, yeah, I got a coach, and I said, okay, so me, my, the way I've been running my business and my format. What do you think about this? And it was like, oh, hell yeah. Like, why didn't you do this sooner? And it was like, because I didn't think about it sooner, because it wasn't even like on my radar. And now it's like, the more that I do this, the more things I see and the more things I'm open to. And I love it. It's like every day I'm learning something new. Every day I feel like the plant in Little Shop of Horrors, feed me some more. I mean, I just feel like, just
totally.
was that short circuit, number 5, input, all of it. That's kind of how I feel right now. And it's exciting.
It's
yeah.
exciting. 100%.
It is exciting.
And I think that's the other thing, deciding to leave corporate, large business is very, very risk adverse. It's very risk adverse. Keep me off the front page of the paper for the wrong reason, right? Very, very risk adverse. Conversely, the entrepreneurial world is, your success is kind of tied to how much risk you can handle without passing out. So I say automate some of that.
You're not wrong.
Like automate some of that so that when you do pass out, the next 2 steps still happen without you, right? It's just the opposite end of the spectrum. If you are somebody who is extremely uncomfortable in that situation, it doesn't mean you can't be an entrepreneur, but you're probably going to have to make up for that in some way. Right. Conversely, if you're someone crazy like me, who's always wants to do more and more and more, I've surrounded myself with a team that's much more ducks in a row so that you need a balloon and you need a string.
Yes. And
some people are balloons and some people are strings, but you need both.
Right. I'm a balloon. You have to have, and I agree. So last week, and I'm not saying this for shock value, but it's kind of to prove a point. I ended up going to the hospital via ambulance. I thought I was having a heart attack. I wasn't.
Good time.
And it was awesome. But I'm in the ambulance and I'm realizing, oh shit, I have all these meetings today. I have these deliverables. So I start emailing my executive assistant, right? So I'm emailing her and the EMT is like, what are you doing? I'm like, I said, I have 2 more sentences and then I'm good. I just have to she goes, give me your fucking arm. I have to put a catheter in. I said, just get one. And she's like, no. So she takes my arm and then I have my phone on my lap and I'm typing and I'm like, okay, this is what's going on. And then, I take a picture. So it's like, I'm not messing around here. I need you to handle all the shit today.
Yeah.
And then it was good. Then I was like, okay, I knew everything was being taken care of. I was getting the emails as they were coming in, seeing them copied and the whole thing. And she's like, what is wrong with you?
Well,
and I said, I have a business to run. I said, I don't work for somebody. I said, I work for a lot of people because I have a lot of clients. So I have to make sure shit gets taken care of. So she's like, well, we need to take your EKG. I'm like, okay. So I stopped talking. They take the EKG. I get to the hospital. My wife is there. The first thing, give me your phone.
She knows.
Oh.
But one of the things you did, and this is one of my key pieces of advice, is you can't do this alone.
No,
you cannot grow businesses alone. And I would have done the same thing that you. I've done similar things where if I'm out of pocket, my first call is to my assistant because now I know everything's taken care of. Now, once I know, you have to have a team that you trust. Once I know Allison's got the ball, I do not worry about it. It's not because I'm a control freak. If she's got the ball, I don't even remember what's going on. I know she's on top of it.
Yeah, and she is. She's like,
she's amazing.
She's gold.
Great, believe me. But
you're awesome, Allison. I'm just going to throw that out there.
I'm going to call her out. But you need, that's more advice. Set yourself up for success by surrounding yourself with the people and the personalities that complement you. We launched, I don't know when this airs, but we launched my live show this morning. We're doing a weekly live show now. And I kicked it off with how to hire a 5-star team. Because you can get to 100K by yourself with a little bit of help there. You can. But if you really want to build a multiple 6-figure, 7-figure business, You cannot do that by yourself.
There's no way in hell. And not have a heart attack and die, and then it won't matter anyway.
And it's not why, and I love to work. Don't get me wrong. I love my business. I love to work, but I also don't live to, like, I want to do other things. I want to, going back to what I said, I want to approach my business from a place of inspiration, not a place of desperation.
Right. Right.
And if I'm trying to juggle all the balls, that's not inspiring.
Right.
That's just not a good idea.
And it was comforting to know that once I sent that, I could relax. Yeah. And
that's whatever. When you said you're not having a heart attack, you're just working too much.
Well, and the weird thing was, she said, it's not stress. Like, we're still trying to figure out what happened. But
I've got one of those going on as well, where like we know you're not well. We just have no idea.
We don't know what's going on. And by the time this airs, it'll be probably like 6 weeks, 7 weeks, something like that. I don't know. But right. By then I'll be like, woohoo, I know. And whatever. But, it was funny because so my wife takes my phone and then they're like, okay, you need to, go down for a CT scan. I'm like, okay. So they take me down and I don't have my phone. And it was the weirdest. It was like the weirdest thing. I'm like, oh my God, this thing is like a freaking appendage. What is wrong with me? So then I get back into the room. It's like, I just want to play a game. I just need to hold it in my hand so I can play a game. And she's like, whatever.
Turn the Wi-Fi and the data plan off. And what that is we don't know how to relax anymore. I say this, I can't watch TV anymore. No, I have to be doing something. I have to read a book during the commercials. Like, really?
No, if I'm watching a show, I'm like this. I'm checking my email. I'm like, somebody did.
If I'm on the treadmill at the gym, I am listening to a podcast and I'm reading the closed caption on the television. Like, this is not this. We are way overstimulated.
Oh yeah, but that's technology, and it ain't getting better. If anything, you're going to have holograms soon. Like, I'm going to be, you're going to be right here and I'm going to be like,
so what I do to counter that, to try to quiet everything down, I call it take a walk, take a shower, take a walk, take a shower. And I'll go for like a walk outside in nature and then to burn off the energy and then a hot shower to calm everything down. And what's amazing is that shower is really when I come up with all my good ideas, because it's very hard to stay out of reaction mode when you're surrounding and immersing yourself with stimulus.
Right. I mean, I can see that. And it's funny you say that because I go to mindfulness. So I try to meditate. I don't. I can't shut it off. If I
stop moving, I have no dimmer switch. I'm either this or I'm asleep. Like, there's no middle. There's no middle.
So I was working on the dimmer switch only because, I don't know if we talked about this when we spoke, but when COVID hit, I lost my shit. I mean, I just, I ended up reaching out to my therapist from 20 years ago and who was up in Naperville. And she was there, which was amazing because I'm like looking up and I'm like, I think this is her. And I sent an email and I get an email right away. Oh my God, it's Angie, text me. And I was like, oh my God, it's you, so that was like phenomenal. But the thing for me was that I just couldn't shut it off. And now I'm being sequestered in my house for 3 years and I can't control what people are doing out there. It was not a good thing. So I had to find that little middle space. Then I'm not very good at it. The mindfulness I breathe, I stop. And I breathe like, when I was calling the, 911 last week, I'm sitting there breathing. And then the guy comes in from the fire department and he says, well, I'm going to take your blood pressure now. And I'm like, okay. And of course my phone's going to ring. And I said, okay. And he says, what? And I said, what do you mean? What? he goes, I'm hard of hearing. You have to speak up. And I said, are you, and I didn't say freaking. I said, are you freaking kidding me? I may be having a heart attack and I have to yell for you to hear
Yelling
me.
is not an option, right?
And he's like, so I started my breathing again and I closed my eyes and he goes, what are you doing? And I said, I can't right now. So I did my breathing and my heart rate, came down a little. But it was just like I go to breathing. I stop and I do my breathing. And Diane is probably doing a happy dance right now. She's my mindfulness coach. She's like, yes.
We finally got through to her. Yeah.
But yeah, I go to breathing and I go to, just kind of, it's like a type of meditation, right? Trying to clear all the gunk. And it helps a lot. And then when I'm done with that, that's when I have my little, I could be doing this. I mean, although Tuesday it didn't work because, I was in an ambulance, but
extenuating circumstances.
Yes.
You can't come up with ideas. You can't come up with solutions when you're in a state of overwhelm.
Right.
Because the other way that I say this is you can't solve the problem when you're obsessing over the problem. If it's, you just can't because your brain doesn't work that way. The brain literally doesn't work that way. So if you're obsessing over the problem, your brain is just focused on the problem. And sometimes I can catch myself and say no and just flip it. But truthfully, if it's, I do this enough where if it's bad enough that I'm stuck, then I got to go burn off the energy. Huh. And I used to laugh when I for a very short period of time, I thought running would be good exercise. No. But seriously, no.
No.
And bad idea. But the good thing about running was once I was completely out of oxygen, I had great ideas because it took that much to calm my brain down.
Yeah. So
now that I know this, I do require a fair amount of that activity. I have one friend, this is awesome. She lives in Idaho. And so she tells me to go out somewhere and throw rocks and scream to get that energy out. And I totally understand that. But I live near Chicago and I could drive an hour in any direction. And no, there's no screaming. I could drive for an hour in any direction. And if I start screaming, there's going to be police called.
But but there are forest preserves, right? They're not like
none of them that are deep enough for 911 to not be called.
So when I was living up in Illinois, my mom passed away, and I didn't realize I was angry until I realized I was angry. Mm-hmm. And my therapist at the time said, because I was like, I just want to break things. And that's not me. She said, go get like 2 25-pound bags of ice.
Oh, there you go.
And I said, why? And she goes, take the ice out, throw it at a brick wall.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, it was like the most cathartic thing. So if you can't scream.
I go to the gym. I box. I do workouts. And now that being said, I do also enjoy yoga and that type of workout as well. And I can intentionally quiet my mind, but not usually in the middle of the chaos.
Gotcha. And I think when you're in the middle of the chaos in any situation, you can't figure it out, right? I mean, that's just
right. That's not the time where you're going to come up with your brilliant next idea. No. And kind of like going back to people who want to leave corporate, don't quit in the middle of the chaos.
Right.
Because it's for the wrong reasons. Like, don't let external circumstances give you a leg up or honestly put you behind the 8 ball in your decision making. Now, you might decide that's it, I've had enough, but don't go slam, make a plan.
Right.
The rash decisions are not usually the best. The reactive, right? I'm not a fan of reactive mode.
Right.
I want
Yeah.
to reverse engineer everything that I do. What do I
Yeah.
want? And then what do I have to do to create that opportunity?
Yeah. You can't be reactive, because when you're reactive, that's when all the
Make that plan.
everything goes awry.
Yeah.
So what's an obstacle that you've gone through that, because seasoned entrepreneurs listen to this too. So what is something that, you've overcome, like an obstacle that,
The biggest one that I had to overcome, and it was earlier on, was how do you embrace the authenticity? How do you embrace your authenticity when you're coming out of a world who told you what success looks like, what professional looks like? And I was given I was allowed to be me, even in corporate, even though I was in financial services, even though I was in a fairly conservative industry. I was always allowed to let my freak flag fly a little bit more than average. But that being said, getting past, like, there's certain things in corporate when you leave that will serve you well as an entrepreneur. Work ethic. You go to work every day, right?
Right.
That will help you. Delegation will help you. There's never been a time where I thought I should do all the things in the business that I don't know how to do. Like in corporate, it would have never occurred to me to go to the other side of the building and tell them I want to now be in charge of creating the website. Right? Like that's just dumb. And yet entrepreneurs do it all the time. In corporate, they would have thought I was crazy. But entrepreneurs do it all the time. So work ethic and delegating, great. A lot of the other traits from corporate that hinder you is the conservative professional labels, the idea of this is how to be successful. And it's not that they were wrong, but it was how to be successful at their company as laid out by someone else.
Right.
And so for me, coming out of corporate financial services and then going into a franchise that was working with families with aging parents, so another relatively soft conservative brand, I've always had a big mouth and I've always had a lot of energy, but I wasn't fully embracing my knowledge, embracing my authentic brand, right? I mean, let's just call it getting past all the fear, getting past the stories, getting past the fear, learning how does your brain work? So I work at the intersection where what you need to do meets who you need to be to do it, right? We do marketing, we do messaging, we do strategy, but that plan doesn't matter if you can't do the plan. And that second half is the obstacle. The first half, easy peasy, lemon breezy. Why? Because you can buy it.
Right.
There are brilliant people out there who can make your website and write your message and there's brilliant marketing people out there who can do strategy and do all those things. Easy peasy, go pay the professionals.
I'm waving my hand because that's us. But
exactly. Right. Like seriously, go buy it. Nobody can do the hard work for you inside your own mind.
No.
So that obstacle, learning how my brain works, what my triggers are, what my stories are, what my subconscious programming is, not because I can prevent how my brain works, because you can't. The goal is to catch it faster, recover faster. I still get the wobbles. I still have things that throw me. I still catch myself playing small because I got nervous and I didn't even realize it. The difference now is that used to throw me for a year and then 6 months and then a month. And now I had something happen, I don't know, like a week or so ago, where my instinct was like, no, that's not okay. Oh my God. I had a reaction to it that was very, no, retreat, contract. And the next morning in the shower, I said to myself, all right, isn't that interesting that I had that reaction? Because now I know that reaction means something's going on here.
Right.
Not that reaction was truth, But that reaction is an indicator of something I need to let go of. So I'm like, okay, that was interesting. Freaked the fuck out a little bit, right? That was interesting.
Right.
Haven't done that in a while. That was rather interesting. What's going on?
Well, we catch ourselves now, right?
I catch myself faster. And right then and there, I'm like, okay. And I always go back to the same process to work through it. What do I actually want? What do I want? Okay. What I really want is XYZ. Okay. So if what I want is XYZ, is the thing I'm freaking out about, is it going to prevent that? No, it's not. It's not going to prevent it. It's just I just need a different way to do it.
Right.
And then it always goes to, in a world of infinite possibilities.
Right.
My favorite phrase, in a world of infinite possibilities, what do I need to do? What do I need to believe? Who do I need to be to move past that? And that obstacle of understanding what was going on and having a process to use when it happened, so that I'm not contracting and going down the rabbit hole of, the spiral of doom for months and months. There's a cat in the podcast. Who wants dinner?
Dogs, cats, everybody's welcome here.
It is what it is. But having a strategy and the awareness to get past that obstacle, invaluable.
100%. I love that. And it's funny how you say how, your freak out only lasts, like a morning now, right? Before mindfulness, I was like a pit bull, how they clutch onto something and they don't freaking let go. Oh my God. So, something would piss me off and I would be pissed off for like a week, 2 weeks, depending on, what it was. And then it started going down to like, 3 days, and then 2 days, and then a day. And now it gets 90 seconds.
Right. It's like, how do I want to feel? Right. How do I want to feel? I don't want to be pissed off.
Do I want this thing to affect me?
Anxious. I don't want to be any of those negative things, because what I do want can't come from there. So let's not do that anymore.
Right. But the fact that we can catch ourselves is huge, because there's a lot of people out there that are stuck on that.
Oh, absolutely.
Now the people that I've been meeting and that I surround myself with are not those people, which has been really interesting, because when I changed, my circle changed.
Absolutely. Well, and here's the thing. Most people don't know that this is how the brain works. I was way into my mid-late 40s before I learned that this is what was going on. Nobody teaches us this unless we seek this out.
Right. 100%.
Right. So why wouldn't people get stuck?
Right. I didn't learn until my late 50s, early. Well, I'm in my early. Well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I didn't learn for a long time. So and gosh, it's so funny, because I look at who I was a year ago, Erin, a year ago, and I look at where I'm at now, and it's a whole different. I'm still me,
right?
But I'm me, right? I am like 100%
more you.
I'm more me than I've ever been.
You're more you. Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, right, because on the entrepreneurial journey is the biggest, self-help journey you could ever go on. Yes.
I mean, it's true. And the self-awareness and the self-care that you end up doing, because you realize it. And I'm going to do another plug for Inovia, just because that just kind of like went right in there. But
absolutely,
Inovia Behavioral Health, it's InoviaBH.com/subscribe, put in the code Cookbook20, and you'll save 20% on a monthly or annual subscription. It's a great program. Again, one price gives you all of the groups. So it's not just one group, you're getting all of it. And they have a Spanish version as well.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's really cool. It's a pretty awesome thing.
Well,
And
and 'cause for entrepreneurs, your business will never outgrow you.
no, nope.
That's how it works. Your business will not outgrow you.
Yeah.
And so people want the money. That's good. Totally get it. But you have to do the work on you, and then the money comes. It doesn't work the other way around.
No. And it's so funny that you say that. It is so funny because when I first started gas stove again, I had a very big client like in the first week. And it was like, okay, so this is meant to be. I woke up, I think I told you the story. I saw the deer and I got the call and, the whole thing. So it was all, to me, kismet. But the more I looked inward, the more the right clients started coming to me. It was the most amazing thing. And it's still to this day. It's like the people that are in my orb, the clients that I work with, and I choose to work with them. I don't just work with anybody, just like I'm sure you don't. If our values don't align, if I don't think I'm going to be able to get you the results that you want, I'm not going to take you on.
Right. That's a really
do
important distinction. It's not because I'm a jerk. It's not because I'm exclusive. It's because you won't like me and it won't work.
Right. Right. I mean, that's, and it's not even that they won't like you. It's that you won't be able to get the results.
It won't work
because you're not aligned. It's just, the alignment isn't there. So, so what is your differentiator? Like why, what
there's two big differentiators that I focus on. And the first thing that I always say to folks when they ask me that question is I have spent a lot of money and a lot of energy and a lot of time to be able to just tell you what I'm good at. Right. Right. Yeah. We put a lot of effort into just being able to say, hey, I'm good at this. Right. So with that disclaimer.
And not just say it, you are good
at
that, right?
And owning it and knowing what I'm good at. So there's two things. Number one is working at that intersection of business strategy and success mindset. I am not the puppies and rainbows and unicorns version of life coaching. I want you to be happy. Don't get me wrong. I want you to be happy. But my version of success mindset is very much applied to how do you get out of your own way in the moment so that you can do what you said you wanted to do, because the business strategy, the messaging, the marketing, everything we come up with in the plan will not work if you can't do the plan.
Right.
So one of those differentiators is having both sides of that in one place. Because there's a lot of business coaches out there that will give you Insta tactics. Just do this one thing. Don't do that, by the way. Please don't do that.
Don't do that.
Or there's life coaches out there who will definitely make you feel better, and that's great. Mm-hmm. But putting those two things together is one of my differentiators. And the second differentiator I kind of hinted at with these Insta tactics. There's a lot of coaches out there, and I don't think they do this with malice, and I don't think they do this with any ill intent, but they had a good experience with somebody and they want to go recreate that. And that's all for others. And that's all very nice. Don't get me wrong, but they don't actually have the credentials behind what they're doing. And so they can repeat a list of what you're supposed to do, but they don't really know how to break it down and apply this strategy for your unique personality, for your unique goals, so that you can actually do it. And my background is such between corporate, I have an MBA in marketing and executive leadership. My experience as a small business owner in the franchise world, my experiences is like there's a lot of meat in my sauce. There's a lot of meat in the sauce. So so that's another differentiator is I'm good at breaking it down so that my client knows what to do with this information, and by applying it to them instead of giving them just do this script. And then so many times those Insta tactics don't work for us and we just feel like a failure instead of right? How come everybody else can send one email and make $1 million and mine tanked?
They
It's
didn't.
because that's not how that works.
Right. They didn't.
That's not how that works.
It didn't happen. And, and I think that's why we get along so well, because I'm pretty much the same way. It's like, I don't sugarcoat anything. I can't, because then you're doing a disservice, right? one
of the things I promised myself, because I watched this happen. I was at an event with a coach who's actually good. I worked with her. I learned a lot from her. But I watched people buy into her program that would never in a million years be able to make an ROI on their investment, because it was business coaching and their business wasn't a viable business idea.
Wow.
It was a great side hustle. It was a great hobby. It wasn't like it was a terrible concept, but it was never going to make the money. There was no way to get an ROI. Now, if you're doing life coaching, if you're doing how do you step up into your authentic self, that's fine. That's different, because that stays with you.
Right.
But if you're telling somebody, I can help you make a 6-figure business, and there's just not enough hours in the day for that to happen, that to me, so going back to not lying and being direct, I just refuse. I'm not helping anybody if I'm blowing smoke up your skirt.
Exactly.
Now, I'm going to be nice. I might be a little nice about it when I say it, and I'll help you find a different approach that does work better for you.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's not you. Right.
No.
And that's how I am. And that's why I say, if they can't be successful, because I've spoken to people that are just like, but I want to work with you.
Yeah, you say
and
that.
It's like, right? It's like, I appreciate that, but I can't help you. Like, I'm not going to be. I'm not going to be able to get you where you want to.
And my favorite thing to do then is to tell them who is a better fit for them, because they still need help.
100%. And I do a lot of referrals to other marketers.
Yep.
Because, like we discussed, it's not a competition.
No,
it's a collaboration. And
absolutely.
Who may not be right for me, may be right for you, vice versa, whatever. So see, we are at an hour, and it goes so fast. I know. It just goes like, choom. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. And I know your day is like slammed. So I really appreciate you talking to myself and my audience.
Absolutely.
My growing audience.
With your sponsor, which is exciting.
It's like so cool. So, and the last question that I ask everybody is, what lights your fire? And it doesn't have to be professional. It could be personal. Like, what lights Erin up?
So I decided quite some time ago that I was going to donate $1 million to wildlife rescue. I knew that wasn't going to be save $1 million and go give it to somebody. I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I volunteered at a dog rescue for 10, 12 years. And then when we moved out into the far western suburbs, a little bit more rural area, I switched to wildlife rescue. So for 3 years, I've volunteered at a wildlife rescue on a weekly basis. And this past year, this is how this came about, which is so funny. I was in Charleston. I took myself to the aquarium there.
I'm going there next week.
Oh, aquarium was fantastic. The city was adorable. Good food, good restaurants too. I went to the aquarium by myself because nobody likes to go to those types of places with me, because I'm a little bit of a weirdo when it comes to those things. I like sit and stare at the fish for an hour.
I would totally go with you. So
right. Well, but I do have a big mouth, and I will talk to strangers. So just from talking to strangers, I ended up with a behind the scenes tour of the sea turtle hospital. I got to watch a sea turtle have laser therapy. I got to watch stingrays have hysterectomies, of all things. And yes, there's a medical reason that has to happen. And then at the same time, I discovered TikTok. So I made a donation while I was there, because that's what you do. And then I discovered TikTok, and the TikTok algorithm is very, very aware of the fact that I am 90% interested in baby goats, mini cows, wildlife photography, and rescues, right? Wildlife rescues, things like that. And so as I'm experiencing these two things at the same time, what I realized was that there are so many sanctuaries and rescues out there that do a great job taking care of animals, but they don't know how to make money. I know how to make money. And when I figured this out, my boyfriend was extremely excited to hear me say the word foundation as opposed to sanctuary. Right? So
I'll bet he was.
Right? I am launching a foundation called Riley's Fund, supporting those who support animals. That is, the legal paperwork went in at the end of last year. We're finishing up. So the official launch party will be this year. We're figuring out the logistics of that. And it is going to be attached to my business, though there will be fundraising as well, but my business will fund this primarily. And it's to support all of these small sanctuaries and rescues that do a great job, but just need a little help. And so we'll be giving grants, and I'm very lucky to have people from the wildlife rescue where I volunteer agree to be on the board, so that when we award a grant, we can make sure we're doing it the right way to the right people, that the animal care is up to snuff on what it should be. But that is what currently lights me up.
That is the best thing I've ever heard. Oh my God. I love you even more now. I mean, I thought I loved you before. Now I'm like, oh my God. Well, you need to let me know when the foundation is.
I will keep you absolutely aware of the soft launch. And so real quick, because this is hysterical. I have somebody who's telling me, well, if you're going to have an event, you have to have a gala, because the people will donate more money if they see that you're spent the money. And I'm going, my people don't want a gala. My people want to meet a turkey vulture. And it just so happens that I know one. Right? My people want to pet a sloth.
Right. So oh my God. My wife wants to,
you'll have to.
My wife wants to pet a sloth. Like, my wife wants a sloth. My wife wants a sloth. She wants a panda. She's like, why won't China give us a panda? I'm like, we can't keep a panda back here.
You know. We're having a team meeting. Our excursion for our team meeting is we're going to go meet the penguins. Yes, welcome to my world.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I want to be part of your world. We'll have to talk about that. But thank you so much for being here. Hang on one second. I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. I'll be right back to you. But
thank you so much.
No, thank you. And okay, so is like Erin Marcus great? Yeah, she freaking is. My wife is just gonna, I mean, she won't leave me for her, but anyway, but in all seriousness, thank you all so much again for hanging in for an hour plus. The comments are awesome. I mean, I'm meeting people on the street now that are, watching this. So my heart is so full. This is a passion project for me. Never thought I was going to have a sponsor. So I also wanted to, thank my sponsor, Inovia Behavioral Health. Again, go to InoviaBH.com/subscribe, put in the code Cookbook 20 and get 20% off of a subscription. But besides all that, thank you all so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. And subscribe. When you subscribe, you get notification of a new of a new episode. Like, share if you've heard anything here that you think somebody that you might know, will glean something cool out of. Share it. But for now, I'm going to say goodbye, Iris Goldfeder, and go out and find what lights your fire. Thanks again.